I'll break up my presentation into two 20-minute sessions. So the first will be building of the business, where I'll be talking about the history of our organization, what we do right, what are our strengths, how we've grown. And the second part will be more of a personal journey and what I really enjoy as a function in my organization. So a little history about where our business started from. So my grandfather passed away when my father was at a very young age of 19 years old. He used to run a wedding card trading and printing business. So back in those days, in the late 80s, you would have big printers of wedding cards in Mumbai and Delhi. And tier 2 towns like Indore, people would go and they would buy wedding card albums, and then they would screen print them according to a particular job. And that is what my grandfather used to do. When he passed away at a very untimely age, my father was thrusted into the responsibility of being the head of the family. He has two younger brothers, so it was a very delicate situation for our family, and that is how he started. From 1987 to 1990, those 3 years were very challenging for him. And I want you guys to think and resonate, maybe a first generation entrepreneur or a second generation entrepreneur, that this challenge has come in every family, where you're young, you're restless, and you don't like the business that you're currently in, but you need enough courage to take the step, and that's what my father fortunately did. He was very tired of the erratic demand, the erratic market of the wedding card business. And so he went head first into the commercial print business in 1991. This little blue and white stripe building was the first factory that he started. Obviously, when he bought this piece of land, he had placed our house on mortgage. I think that's as big a sacrifice as somebody could probably make. We started very, very small with a single color PU25 printing machine. We were doing commercial print, notebook titles, odd jobs. One thing my father was very, very particular about was the induction of systems. So even when there was a staff of 3 and a labor headcount of 20, he was extremely particular about systems, about HR, about documentation, and that was embedded in our DNA from then. Fast forward 6 years, we shifted into the second plant. This had a working area of about 30,000 odd square feet. This is where he ventured into monocarton packaging. So by 1993-94, my uncle had also joined. So now there were 2 of them, so they were able to manage more things. And they delegated responsibilities very seamlessly. This was where our growth really started. We had multiple printing machines. Packaging was started as an additional business to commercial print. In 2004, so every time, we were a very local printer. We didn't have any sales outside of Indore or a 100-kilometer radius outside of it. So you exhaust your market very, very quickly. And back then, businesses weren't as big as they are today. 2004, we had to expand into corrugation because a lot of customers that we were serving to, they were primarily torch brands. They were making torches. Thankfully, back then, there was very little electricity reliability in Madhya Pradesh, so torches were still in big demand. So the torch industry forced us to move into corrugated packaging, and we specialized in litho-laminated packaging from then on, e-fluted cartons. This is the big pivot for our company. So I think in 2015, the plant 1 and plant 2 put together were turning over about 18-19 crore rupees in top line. In 2016, we inaugurated this plant, which was our integrated packaging plant, where we did monocartons, liner cartons, window cartons, and corrugated cartons. In between 2004 and 2016, there was a big pivot. When I joined the business in 2010, which is 15 years ago, my father made a very conscious effort because the resources of a family have to be used to the maximum potential that they are capable of. So he disassociated himself from the printing and packaging business, the day-to-day operations of it, and he ventured out into a different line of business while still maintaining a financial and a legal oversight over the company. And when I was inducted into the business in 2010, he stopped commercial printing that very day because it was his belief that commercial print would not be as scalable and as long-lasting as packaging would be. Just to give you a little bit of perspective, at that time, commercial print was 60% of our top line and 80% of our bottom line. And we stopped that business in one day. It was a 6-month phase down, but 1st of July 2010 was the deadline that he had set for all his customers, all his partners. Obviously, all our customers were very respectfully and tactically handed over to other competent companies that were still in that line of business. And we maintain very healthy relationships with all those individuals even till date. Many of them are well-wishers. But that is the pivot, that is the risk-taking ability that he had even after 20 years of running his business that he founded with his own hand. 2016 till now, we've used the power of integration. We added many value-added products like window cartons and liner cartons. We took the market leadership in Central India in terms of folding carton packaging solutions. Almost every big, Central India is not a very big market like your Vapi or your Baddi or your Assam, so, or your Sikkim. So there's very few large-size companies present there that buy a lot of paperboard packaging. But whoever does, we're very proud to be associated with them. In 2021, between 16 and 21, we took a lot of debt in 2016 when we were making that plant. We had paid off much of that debt, and then we got very serious about upgrading our quality and trying to become nationally relevant. 2021 onwards, we went on an expansion spree where we added another plant. But more importantly, we upgraded our printing equipment. So we were operating 6 second-hand used printing machines, all of them with coating, and we were using them for various applications in packaging. And we started trading in 2 old and bought a new one, 2 old and bought a new one. So today we are operating 4 lines. 3 of them are brand new multicolored machines, and 1 is still the old machine that we use for some odd jobs. What this investment enabled us to do was, it enabled us to focus on quality, on reliability. And that is where we could dream of becoming a national player. So from a Madhya Pradesh-centric packaging company where our company sales were, say, 95% within MP and 5% outside MP in 2021, today we'll close this year at about 70% in MP and 30% outside of MP, while scaling up our turnover 40% year on year. So, I mean, good machines, good technology, when used correctly, really help to, in our experience, they really helped us to grow beyond geographical boundaries. I'm going to talk about what our strengths are, what we did correctly. So the first and the foremost point is raw material management. Any business where you purchase something, where you convert it and you sell it, the raw material cost cannot be ignored. The cost of acquiring that raw material, the cost of storing it, the cost of disposing it, and the cost of using it. In paperboard packaging, in paperboard printing, we have multiple substrates. We have FBB, SBS, grayback, whiteback, kraft. We have multiple GSMs, multiple sizes. The first thing that we did post-2021 was when we invested in a sheeter. So we started sheeting in-house. So we tried to make sure that the X into Y that we were buying was just an X. We cut down our variations in GSM. So today, for certain grades of paperboard, we would not accept an order if it comes at 370 GSM. If I'm stocking 350 and 400, I'm either going to quote them on 350 or on 400, or I'll walk away from the business. But I will not introduce a new paper grade just for a specific job. So we prioritized on understanding our own raw material consumption, our own raw material patterns, and gave that the utmost importance. And that has helped us to get to a point where we are now turning over our raw material in 12 days. So most packaging companies my size, when I learn from my peers, they turn over their raw material in 30 to 40 days. That means if they're converting 1,000 tons, they have 1,200 to 1,300 tons of raw material that they have paid for and that they are storing in their factories. When we turn over 1,000 tons, we are using probably 350 to 400 tons that are kept in-house. And the rest is made sure that it comes by our supply chain. So we also are very, very conscious about how we store our raw material. I've just put up a couple of pictures of our paperboard godown. So everything, every raw material, every consumable in our factory is palletized. More often than not, it is also ragged. So there's a very clean and clear system. Anything which doesn't move for 3 months is taken out. There's a reverse bidding. We get rid of it. It is not going to be stored. If it's a non-moving item, it is not going to be stored in our factory. We moved on from paper, and we also attacked the plastic side of our business. So we still use a lot of lamination films, a lot of window patching films. Rather than buying lamination films as per on demand, which is very unpredictable, and you can't get the correct quality from your local suppliers because everyone's buying different qualities from different plastic mills. So we now buy jumbos, we slit them in-house, and we use only as much as our job needs. So again, we don't stock more than what we need. There's something that I wanted you to see, and I can share the picture later. But the material identification tags that we have are A3 sized, and each identification tag is of a different color. So we have 6 different colors. So January, February is one color, March, April is one color, and so on and so forth. It's the same tag, just with different colors. It helps you identify how old a material is when you look at your warehouse from a distance. It's a very, very easy, cheap, visual control that you have once you start really focusing on the power of raw material management. We do monthly stock audits, and the stock audits are personally reviewed by all directors. And the best part about having the sheeter, and the biggest advantage, is that even today, 90% of jobs that we book every day, 100% raw material is available in the plant. That means our turnaround time gets vastly shrunk due to this practice. And all it took was a little bit of concentration and giving the seriousness to the money that we have invested in raw materials. We also take our engineering stores very, very seriously. I think it should be visible how we store our rollers. Rollers are extremely important part of our printing quality, productivity, and we stamp number each and every individual roller, and that roller has its entire life history on a log sheet. So we exactly know when it was made, how many impressions it ran, in what unit of what printing machine before it was rubberized by whichever company that rubberized it. So we are very, very sensitive on that, and then we make sure that if we are spending 3x the market price on a re-rubberizing project, we at least get every value out of it. On the right side, you can see how we store our important spare parts. Small to big spare parts. We try and have at least 1 or 2 levels deep of stock of them. This is actually where we splurge, but this ensures that we have maximum uptime for all of our equipment. There's a video that is playing now, and this is coming to our third strength. I would just request you to play it again once it's over. One thing that we changed our perception in 2021 was that we stopped believing that print is an art. Yes, print is an art when we talk about pre-press. But once the plate is made, print is a science. It's math. You can measure a color, you can measure the density, and no one can measure something better than a machine. A human being just can't do it. What we started doing when we bought our first brand new printing machine in 2021 was we made very, very conscious effort that every job we print will be measured and scanned by the machine. And we don't, no matter how competitive a job is, we never save that 10 mm on top. We anyways have to give 5 mm as die cutting, stripping margin. So we just need to invest in 5 more. What this ensures is that we become more dependent on technology, more dependent on our machines, rather than being dependent on an operator. So back in 2019, there were certain critical jobs that our pre-press and production teams would say, this machine, this operator, this ink, that's the only way we can make this job. There's no flexibility. That has gone out of the chart now. We're also extensively using proofing services. As Anil sir rightly said, that the customer wants to see before they take a decision, and we're very happy that to the level of the expectation of our customers, we're able to give very good proofing solutions. We made a very, very good conscious effort of investing heavily into our plant and the housekeeping activities of our plant. This is something where I feel that as printers, we have not done enough justice, because almost every customer that comes, he comes and he tells us कि मैंने आपके जैसी printing press तो देखी है, but आपके जैसी cleanliness कभी नहीं देखी. The cleanliness is a state of mind. Swachhata, I mean, Indore is known for Swachhata, fortunately, but Swachhata comes from within. So if you just see what we've done, we have 210,000 square feet of working space today. All of it is mopped and all of it is cleaned 2 times every day. 2 times in the day shift, 1 time in the night shift. 100% of the times, no compromises. Not just the gangways, including the machine areas. We have color-coded departments for seamless navigation. So in the picture you can see there's a white color and then there's a dark gray color, and in between there's a strip. So every different production hall in our factory has a different strip. This strip designates what area you're in. The person working in that hall, the collar of their t-shirt will have the same color of the strip. So visual cues are very, very important. All these, you would anyway spend this money in painting your wall. It just needs a little bit of awareness of system, which we have been fortunately able to keep over the course of the last 9 years. We'd never compromise on gangway space, come what may. We can do less business, but we will never put material, printing sheets, pallets, stack on the gangway, because the gangway has to be very, very clean. And workstations, storage, and operational areas are positioned in the middle of the shop floor rather than away in some corner. I've taken the luxury of sharing the layout of our factory. This comes from the STBN within. So hall 1 is where we do our printing, our lamination, surface lamination, and our die cutting. Hall 2 is where we do our microfluting and 3-ply. The reel go down and the sheet go down are our raw material storage areas. And right down below here you see, this is our engineering spaces. This is our engineering store, our utility rooms. We have bathrooms in every manufacturing area, so people don't transverse here and there, and their shoes will dirty up the floor. So everyone stays at their own place. And this little T that you see that is uncolored, that is a 3-meter wide gangway that we have that separates one area from the other. We take this structure very, very seriously, because we never ever store a single sheet of paper anywhere in between here. This is a similar structure for the first floor where we do our finishing activity, where we do our blanking, our carton inspection, and folder gluers. This is something very similar to a desi jugaad. It is nothing very great, but we take adherence to our deadlines very, very seriously. It's embedded in the DNA of Vijayshri. This is, I tried doing this over a Power BI sheet, I tried doing this over a Google sheet, and I just thought that people were not speaking on numbers, they were speaking on hunches. They said, yeah, I've seen this job here, I've seen this job there, itne din lagega, I can get it done in tonight. Tomorrow we can do the dispatch. We said, let's bring it onto a dashboard. And this is a simple dashboard which is updated every hour by our planning team. And it helps us understand exactly how much load we have on what of our printing machines, on which category of our jobs, and all delivery deadlines that are committed to the customer are committed after looking at this. I just want to get, so this was the first part of my presentation, which was talking about Vijayshri and what we do right and sharing a bit with you. The second part is a little more personal, where I want to talk about me inducted into the business as a second generation entrepreneur, and how my life went about until I became serious for business in 2014. So I was born in 1988. I was born to a first generation entrepreneur, a very, very enterprising and an extremely disciplined man. I was sent to boarding school early in life so that I could be a little more disciplined in his eyes. After college, I finished my education. I finished off with a packaging engineering degree from Michigan State in 2010. And until then, I was very serious about getting into this business. The change happened when I came back in 2010, and I realized how business was being run, how Indian businesses are, how as family managed businesses, we don't get the respect that we deserve. And so that kind of deterred my decision to come back to India. And I wanted to go back to the US. I wanted to have a comfortable life, working in a job there, and the quality of life is very good. And I've spoken to many of my contemporaries who are 5 years younger, older than me. And everyone in their early 20s was very restless. And at one point, they were never very sure of that they wanted to join their family business. And I'm sure at this juncture, a lot of you who are in their 50s and who have a second generation coming in would sort of feel the same kind of feeling coming from your second generation, that they're not motivated enough, they're not talented enough, they're not sincere enough. And it happened with me. That was a low point in my life. I enrolled into a management school. I dropped out after 8 months. I was just not very sure of what I wanted to do in life. Just wanted to share that so that there's a little bit of relatability to where we are today. When we started construction of this new plant that we inaugurated in 2016. So 2014 is when we started making this plant. And that was a turning point in my professional life where I had a sense of ownership because I was involved in the construction of that plant, in the construction of our business from that point onwards. And that sense of ownership is what I feel was the stickiness factor that helped me stay committed to this line of business. I took some leadership positions in organizations like Young Indians and Entrepreneurs Organization that helped me become a little more stable to my city, to my community. And recently I joined the STB, which is a peer-to-peer learning forum of the BMPA. And I met some amazing second-generation entrepreneurs, two of which presented at the same conference last year, Anuj and Sahil. So, if there's one takeaway or if there's one request that I have of first generation or of senior entrepreneurs who are planning or who wish to induct their junior generation into the business, is that they will, unlike the first generation, the second generation already has food on their table. So they need a little more than just economic stability. They need a sense of legacy, a sense of ownership, and a sense of culture. And culture is what they are attracted to. If you have a very, very robust culture in your organization, chances of your second generation happily coming in are very high. If that happened with you, you probably created a good culture. We at Vijayshri take culture very, very seriously. As I said that, the founder of our company is a very, very disciplined man, and he's an extremely hardworking person, but he's also culturally very, very strong. There are no compromises on what is written, on what is said, unsaid. Aditya Ghosh who's a chief operating officer at Indigo for a long time, and he's one of the co-founders of Akasa. He famously says, culture eats strategy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You can strategize all you want. If there's no culture in the organization, people will unlearn quicker than what the time they took to learn a certain art. There's another story of Aditya that Aditya shared with us in a forum that I wanted to share. Aditya said that, he asked the audience, he's like, how many of you guys smoke? And so there was like 4 or 5 people. He's like, all right, how many of you smoke in front of your parents? Hands down. So he said, see, we as Indians are very culture driven. We can drink, we can smoke, but we still have that aankh ki sharam. So if you're smoking with your friends and your elder, your parent, your family man, somebody from your family comes in, you'll automatically hide it. If you're having a drink, as a Marwadi Jain boy, if you're having a drink, if my uncle or my dad are here, I would not touch that drink. They know I drink, but I would not touch that drink. It's a part of culture. No one told me to do that. No one tells your children how to behave in front of you. They're born with it. That is why culture is important. You need to induct culture into your organization so that you don't have to train every person that walks in the door. There's another story that Aditya shared. Like every Indian, when we are crossing a temple, most of us would at least look in the direction of the Lord and we would bow our head. It can be a Hindu, it can be a Muslim, it can be a Christian. If we see a place of worship, we stop, we acknowledge, and we bow. That is culture. You have to treat culture. What you propagate in culture, you have to live it every day when you go to office. In every decision, that culture should resonate. It's very easy because culture comes naturally to us. We believe that people who come to work for us, they come for more than money. They come for the money, but they stay for they come for the livelihood, but they stay for the life that you offer them. It's the respect, it's the stability, it's the sense of ownership. And in our printing industry, I have not seen a company do this better than Technova. I don't know how many people of Technova I see when I was a little child, and I still see them, 20, 25 years later, they're still at Technova. They're leaders in their own right. They're business heads, somebody is selling digital printing machines, and somebody is still selling plates and chemicals, but they have that sense of ownership of Technova. So, salute to Technova for showing us this part of leadership within our industry. So this is our team. This is obviously only the administration staff. We're a team of around 450 individuals today. There's a lot of small activities that we do within our organization to make it a better place to work. For example, we give interest-free loans at various junctures of life. Even if somebody doesn't apply for one, the HR will reach out and just kind of make sure that if you need any financial assistance, don't worry about it. It can be your child going to college and you needing some amount for the college fees, a marriage, a death, a birth in the family, little things like that. We also do a very, very robust plantation drive. So just like Brilliant, our plant is spread over 10 acres, and we have plantation on the periphery of that entire 10 acre. So every 2-3 years, we would gather people who don't have a tree on their name, and we would plant a sapling with them. And near the sapling, there's a plaque that Ayush planted this tree on so-and-so date. And it can be somebody like a machine operator or a loading rickshaw driver or a helper or an accountant or the MD of your company. That sense of ownership, that sense of belonging, apnapan, is very, very important to cultivate love and loyalty towards the organization. And this is one of the stepping stones of what I feel creates a business so valuable that it can sustain after its founder has moved on from that business. We also have a very special and it doesn't cost a lot of money to do that. I'm sure many of us, we have a small 200 square feet space somewhere in our factory. Every person who worked at Vijayshri but passed away, unfortunately, while they were still working for us, we plant a small sapling in their memory. And that entire area, it has about 9 plants now. It is called Smriti Udyan. Once a year on 26 January, when we celebrate the Republic Day and our Founders Day, the entire team congregates there and we pray for them and for their spirits to be at peace. It's very fulfilling to do as a management person, but I can see it in the eyes of people that worked with those people that moved on, that it's a very humble and a very sweet way of remembering somebody that passed away. We also have a subsidized canteen. We have a kitchen garden just like us, but unfortunately our kitchen garden can't even suffice our canteen. So there's nothing to take home. But we have a canteen, it's a subsidized, it cooks meal for lunches and tea and dinners. We have an annual health checkup. We have sensitization campaigns on road safety. Unfortunately, 2 of the people that we saw that passed away in road accidents and they were not wearing helmets. So we have sensitization campaigns like this. This is something that we are very, very proud of, that when we created this new plant, we created a residential block. This is a 3-floor structure where we've given 1 floor to in a dormitory form rooms for people who come from outside of Indore. 1 floor is for our supervisory staff and 1 floor is for our foremans, each of whom are responsible for some or the other critical operation of the company. So 24/7, they can man it, they are there, and they get free housing. The whole objective of giving somebody free housing is not to give them a SOP. That is what governments are made for. What we are supposed to do, or what we try to do, is that the 3, 4, 5 years that you're not paying rent, you collect that money aside, and eventually you try and become a homeowner. Indore, fortunately, still the real estate and home prices are on the affordable side. So somebody working an average job for 20 years can dream of owning a home, unlike many metro cities like Mumbai or Bangalore. So while we still have this opportunity for our city, we want to use that. Training and upskilling. Not everyone who comes to you, who comes to work with Vijayshri, wants to stay there forever. While we have this transit of people that come in and out, training and upskilling is extremely important. We have a dedicated training room which is used probably 15 times a month now. We train people on every aspect of life. There's some traditional training topics like health, financial independence, insurance, importance of children's education, and some new topics like AI, machine technology, data-driven decision making, something that we use in day-to-day operations. It's very, very important to train our staff, to train ourselves, to train our people to embrace artificial intelligence. It is here, it is being used massively. My friend Manu Chaudhary shared a very, very amazing implementation of AI technology where he asked AI to cost a sheet, a job for him, I think 2 or 3 jobs during the Prince Summit earlier this year. And so the earlier we embrace AI, the better competitive edge we have. I have a customer and a very close friend who works in the direct-to-consumer beauty space, startup company. So they understand and they want to embrace technology much faster than us traditional businesses. He shared something. He said in 2018, when we started our D2C brand, Google was the discovery platform. A person wanting to buy a face cream or a serum would go to Google, discover the product, compare 3, 4, 5 brands, see the pricing, then they would go on Amazon and they would buy it. In 2024, The same transaction, they go to Amazon for discovery, and where do they buy it? Any guesses? They buy it on LinkedIn. They buy it on Blinkit. So, if Amazon became the beta place, it became the place of discovery and not the place of purchase in such a short amount of time, imagine how vulnerable businesses are today to technology. I'm sure Amazon is doing something to overcome this, but they'll probably buy out a Zepto or someone. So training and upskilling is important. The last part of my presentation today is continuous improvements. What we at Vijayshri have done in order to, you improve 2% every day, and when you see after a year you've changed your location and your base has changed altogether. A very small example, and this is there in probably every print shop. This is blanking, mal chilna. This is traditionally done in a way where we throw material on the floor. Somebody sits on it with a knee. They take out the stripping waste, and then the carton is moved on to the next process. Of course, now there are machines to do this blanking. The difference is that we never wanted to go for machine blanking. We thought it wasn't worth the investment. But our die punch operators and our operation people, they went for an exhibition, they saw this machine and they said, we want this, we'll use this. And they did. So in 2021, when we installed our first blanking machine, there were 17 people blanking 20 lakh cartons in a month, 20 lakh sheets in a month, 17 people. Today we have 9 people blanking 35 lakh sheets, same jobs. A very, very less spoken about advantage was that it made our die punching much more accurate. Because when it was done manually, nobody would raise an alarm. They would just not take a 3-inch stack, they would take a 2-inch stack and they would strip it. But now with the machine, they're always going to take a 3-inch stack. So if your die cutting is not proper, the machine will not extract it, and then you will have a breakdown. And so things get escalated. So our quality of die punching had to improve. This is something that was enabled by our people. We're very proud to share the next thing that our people propagated. After this said stripping wastage is collected, we usually gather them in large jumbo bags. We put them on a pallet. We would take them to a loading bay, and a scrap collector would come and he would take them away for recycling. What does he do? He compacts it and he sells it to a paper mill. We said, well, why can't we do that? In our plant design, our scrap handling is in the basement. So we have cutouts in various floors. There is a well, and we would just toss this waste downstairs. And downstairs, we started gathering it, and we started bundling them with a manual machine. So for the same volume, when we were selling, say, 30 kilos or 40 kilos, we went up to 80 kilos because we started compacting it. Now, we were running 3 compacting machines, and then there was again not enough labor to do it. Then we invested in an automatic compactor, which would just take material and keep compacting all day long. This is compacting it even more densely. So now every bundle of the same volume is 110 kilos. So not only are we saving on the freight, we are realizing more money for our stripping wastage, but ultimately there are lesser people to do the same job. This is coming from our people. Another thing we do very well is competency matrix. Be it our shop floor people, be it our managerial staff, depending upon the nature of the business, or nature of their operations, once or twice a year, they take a competency test. This competency test is analyzed, and we sit with them and we discuss with them as to why your scores have improved or not improved since the last test. This helps them get a very, very clear and real feedback on their performance and their skill set. we truly believe at Vijayshri that you have to enhance your strengths. You have to play to your strengths. Safeguard your fortress, and that becomes your identity. We specialize in innovative folding cartons and supplying them in very, very short lead times. That is our strength. Anilji's strength is innovation, prototyping. Anil Regoji's strength is very high volume, complicated book printing, thin paper printing. Every company has a strength. Each one of you, each one of us here has some strength that our competitor doesn't. We need to capitalize on that strength, and that becomes our identity, and that becomes our competitive edge in the market. We also take our deadlines extremely seriously. These are all small bits and pieces about how the Vijayshri culture is designed, and this is what we are very, very serious about in business. So we are very, very serious about delivering on deadlines. So no matter what, if a deadline has gone out from our factory, it must be adhered to at any cost. Logistics cost, raw material cost, everything becomes sideline. Once you give a date to a customer, you do not break that promise. One thing that I've realized, we recently had another family member started working in the fold. That is my uncle's son, Prakhar. And so this was my turn that after 10 years of me joining, Prakhar entered the business. And I had to sort of mentor him into the role that we wanted him to execute. After a couple of years of fighting and struggling to understand why I was not able to get through to my communication, it was his father, my uncle, who did a very, very good job at explaining Prakhar the why rather than the what. Many times, very often times, I have seen people making other people understand what they should be doing. You should be doing this, you should be doing that. But they have never been explained why you should be doing this. Once somebody understands the purpose of what they are doing, it becomes very, very easy for them to do something, to excel something, to probably change the way that thing is done and make it better, like how our people did with our stripping operations, with our blanking and waste management operations. So kudos to the leadership there. For second generation, I feel that when you're inducting a second generation, when you want them to continue your business, when you want them to excel at any business, there are two compromises that they are making. One, they're trading in their independence. When a second generation is not involved in the family business, when they have their own business or they're working with somebody else, they are independent, they're financially independent. But when they're in the part of a family business, they're financially dependent on the business and the family. This is a big compromise, and today's youth, today's second generation is not very happy to easily let it go as it was 30 years ago. So that is something that needs to be taken with a little more sincerity when you're trying to induct a second generation. The second thing that they want to have full clarity is what is their roles and responsibilities, what is their accountability, what is their responsibility, and what is their reward. That needs to be very, very clear. That, I mean, as a professional of your organization to another professional of the same organization, that communication needs to be very, very clear. So just concluding my presentation here, at Vijayshri, we've done three things very well. First, we've always had a clear vision. It's quality, it's service, it's predictability. Second, there's a very, very high importance, a very high price laid out for culture. We're family moderated and professionally driven. So no professional is ever interrupted in the middle of an operation. There is no stopping somebody's hand and telling them how to do something. You have to tell them why a certain thing needs to be done rather than what and how it needs to be done. And thirdly, the induction of the next generation, there needs to be clear designation, responsibility, and rewards. That's it from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We have a question from the audience. You've shown us in your presentation the attention to detail that Vijayshri do, like the storage systems, the color coding, the training rooms. To what extent has it helped your team to do the small things correctly?
So I think that we have never measured it, so I will not be able to very honestly answer that. But there is a sense of clarity of vision, because the first day, the first week that a new team member joins us, they are never struggling for what they need to do. They're never dependent on somebody else hand holding them through the ops, through the culture, through the layout of the company. So little things make a big difference, and once you're in a clean environment, I think it was Swami Vivekananda who said that clean minds exist in clean bodies and clean environments. So once you have a very clean environment, it is very reasonable to expect somebody to give in their best.
Probably one more question.
Yeah.
Probably your advice to the graphic art industry in Kerala and Tamil Nadu. What should they endeavor to do? Like, for example, Vijayshri has a 12-week goals and a 70% advance payment systems, I believe. So that's something print firms in Kerala can emulate. What is your suggestion?
So I'm too young to advise anyone on what to do, but my mantra for life is find out what your niche is, find out what you're very good at, and keep doing that. It will give you maximum satisfaction and profits.